All right, welcome, DoorGrow property managers, to the DoorGrow Show. If you are a property management entrepreneur that wants to add doors, make a difference, increase revenue, help others, impact lives, and you are interested in growing in business and life, and you're open to doing things a bit differently, then you are a DoorGrow property manager. DoorGrow property managers love the opportunities, daily variety, unique challenges, and freedom that property management brings. Many in real estate think you're crazy for doing it. You think they're crazy for not, because you realize that property management is the ultimate high trust gateway to real estate deals, relationships, and residual income. At DoorGrow, we are on a mission to transform property management business owners and their businesses. We want to transform the industry, eliminate the BS, build awareness, change perception, expand the market, and help the best property management entrepreneurs win. We're your hosts, property management growth experts, Jason and Sarah Hull, the owners of DoorGrow. Now let's get into the show. All right,
let's do it. Before we do anything, we have an announcement. For those of you that have not yet heard, our foster dog Hans has been officially adopted.
Oh.
So we didn't do a podcast since he was adopted.
Okay.
So this is our first podcast that we don't have Hans kind of hanging out in the background. And I miss his little face. But he has an amazing family, so we did it.
I miss Hans.
I love him so much.
I don't miss him chewing my stuff in my office, but I do miss his little face as well. All right.
Yes.
Yeah, so he's adopted. All right, so the topic today, and if you want to check that out, you can go to doorgrow.com. Right at the top, there's dogs. Click on that, see all our stories. Maynard got adopted.
Maynard is adopted. Yeah, he now lives in California.
This dog was like on death's door multiple times.
Many times.
Now he's living it up with a
wealthy dude who just fell in love with him.
Guy in California.
Maynard just captured his heart, loved him so much, and wanted to provide him an amazing life. So
he's got a new name.
He's Bodie.
Bodie.
So he's now driving around in a convertible in California. That's one of the pictures they put on there. It's like, oh.
All right.
So Maynard has a great life now too.
So you can check that out at doorgrow.com/dogs. All right. So our topic today that we're going to be chatting about, you said that it came up a few times this week with some of our clients dealing with some new team members. We're helping a lot of people with hiring right now.
Oh my goodness, so many. And I built so many DoorGrow hiring accounts in the last week.
Yeah, so we're setting up this hiring mechanism and machine and system so that people can have some consistently good hires. But that brings us to kind of the next challenge. So what have you been hearing?
Okay, so one client asked me, he's about to hire. He's going through the hiring process. So he doesn't have anybody lined up yet, but he's about to start this whole process. And he had asked me, hey, what about expectations for when they start, when they come on? And specifically, this is a BDM. The second instance of this happening this week is a client who has already hired, and his BDM is now about 60 days in. And he sent me a message yesterday, and he said, hey, listen, I really need to talk with you before the end of the month. I need to make a decision on my team. So I said, okay, let's figure out what's going on. And he said, yeah, I'm kind of pissed because my BDM is like 60 days in. And last month he didn't do anything at all. And then this month he started, he hasn't closed anything yet. Okay. And he didn't do anything at all. What he means is he didn't close anything.
Okay.
Not that he wasn't working.
No deals yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not that he wasn't working. He was working. And this month now is his 60-day mark, and he hasn't closed anything, but he's, making calls, and he's starting to, get some things kind of ready and warmed up in the pipeline. And he said, man, should I just let him go? Like, is he just not the right person? I feel like it's 60 days. Like, I should see some results at this point.
Okay.
So I'd really like to talk about that. And this is going to be, whatever episode this is Sarah's tough love episode. So here it is.
Got it. Okay. I mean, let's get the basic stuff out of the way, right? First, we need to know that we have the right person. So we need to know what those expectations are. So that's where we define that. Usually we call them our docs, but in this ultimate job description. So we need to be clear on what we're looking for. We need to be clear on what results we're expecting. We need to be clear on, what outcomes we're hoping for. And they need to be clear on this, right? Like if we're bringing somebody in, they need that clarity. So if there's anyone listening and there's any ambiguity or fuzziness, then you're going to get fuzzy outcomes. And those aren't good, right? And so there needs to be at least, you need to be on the same page. Literally, the way we do that is with a page called an RDoc. And so you make sure you're on the same page. And all those young Gen Z people, notice how I use the word literally correctly, like it's an actual page.
I was just thinking that.
Stop saying the word literally. It drives me fucking nuts. So,
and
right.
literally.
I literally. Nobody's confused about it being figurative, then you don't need to say the word literal.
I literally died yesterday when I read that text.
No, you would be dead. You would actually be dead. All right. So, now the next piece is we need to make sure we've got a person that fits that job description, right? They actually are the right personality. Well, let's talk about the 3 fits real quick. Mm-hmm. They have to match all 3 or they're not going to be a good BDM.
Or it's never going to work out. And it doesn't matter if it's a BDM, an operator, a property manager, an assistant, a maintenance coordinator. It doesn't, name the role. Doesn't matter.
Yeah. So first, they have to be the right personality for the job or they'll never be great at it. They'll never be motivated to do it. You bring in somebody to be a BDM, for example, and they're not the right personality
to they're like me,
go out and want to talk to people and connect with people and network. And that's not fun for them. They're always going to resist it. They're going to avoid it. They're going to do a bunch of time wasting, stupid activities. They're going to try everything else other than what really should be done, which is to go connect with people and have conversations. So they're gonna be like, well, I'm trying some marketing thing and I'm trying this thing.
I sent 5,000 emails. I don't know why none of them came back.
We did direct mail to like 7,000 owners.
I've heard that. And it's because this is a true example. I sent 5,000 emails.
Yeah.
So essentially you did nothing. That's great.
Right.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Lots of emails, right? So,
you know how many junk emails we get in a day? What happens when you get junk email? Do you open it? Do you read it? Do you respond to it? No. That's what you just did to somebody else.
Yeah, it lacks depth. All right, so we can get into tactics later, but they need to match the personality for the role, which means they would love succeeding at this. They would love doing it. They would enjoy it. They get some fulfillment out of it. And so that's personality fit. They need to be the right culture fit, which means they need to actually believe in your business and in you and in the product. They have to believe in this. You cannot sell effectively if you lack belief. And that goes for everybody on the team. Like if your operator isn't a believer in you or the business, they're not going to want or care to make sure that it runs well for you. If your executive assistant isn't, a believer in you or shares your values, they're never going to do things in a way that makes you feel safe or that you trust them. Culture fit means they do it the way that you would want it done, that they share your values and that you feel. The big clue, we talked about this at our last Jumpstart event where we had clients and somebody had a team member.
Yeah, don't use names here.
And I just asked, I said, well, do you feel better when they're around? Do you feel calmer when they're around? And they were like, no. I'm like, yeah, then they got to go.
What did he say? He said, oh, well, a lot of our communication we do over the phone because that's better.
Because there's such a high degree of conflict.
Jason says, better than what? Awful?
Yeah. And then he laughed. Everybody laughed in the group. And he was like, well, yeah.
Oh, I can't talk to this person in person. I can't be around them. Yeah, because when we're around each other,
there's too much conflict.
It's just it gets
they're not a good culture fit.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah. That means that person's not a good fit for that person, for that particular client.
And let's be clear, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with this particular person.
No.
It doesn't make them a bad person.
Not a good fit for
it doesn't mean, they'll never succeed. No, it just means that they are better suited in a different environment. That's all. It means not everybody, like when you're dating, you don't want to date everybody. You want to date people that you like generally. And there are certain people that you like, and there are certain people that you just don't mesh well. The businesses work the same way.
Yeah, they've got to match your values. And so, yeah, because regardless, you get somebody that's amazing BDM, for example, or an amazing operator for your business, but they don't share your values, you'll never trust them. Like you just can't. And so, and then the third fit is skill fit. So they have to have the skill or the ability or the intellectual capacity to learn and develop this skill quickly. And so if they don't, then you'll invest a bunch of energy into trying to train them and they're just too stupid to get it, or they just can't figure it out. Or maybe you hire somebody and they've got bad habits or they can't adapt. So they need to have that skill fit. They got to be all three or they're not going to be a good fit. So let's assume we've helped them with door hiring. We focus on these three fits. We have a whole hiring mechanism to make sure these generally go well.
Yeah. So I can tell you, I don't think that that's any of those are the problem.
This person, yeah. So in these situations, the person is the right fit. Yeah, usually that's the problem, is they're not even getting the right person.
Yeah.
Most of y'all doing hiring, you're playing Russian roulette hiring, and you don't have good fits.
It's this person had the experience and they came from such and such.
We hear that all the time. Yeah. Well, they're so experienced, but
they know how to do it,
and you feel uncomfortable around them, and you don't trust them. Yeah. So let's assume that, with our clients, we've helped them find people that match the three fits. So now we're past that hurdle that's very typical for most people. Mm-hmm. Well, now if it's not them, then who is it?
Okay, so here's where the tough love comes. This is always my question, and I'm very, very, very particular about what happens when you hire someone.
Okay.
You cannot ever hire somebody and just say, now my problems are solved. They're not solved yet. I know it feels like you've gotten through it and now things are better and you should just be able to rely on that person. Mm-hmm. You're not there yet. You will be, but you're just not, you're getting closer. You're just not fully there yet. And this is what happens a lot of times. And they go, oh, okay, so I know I need to train this person, and then I'll probably train them for like a week or two, and then they'll just be good. No, absolutely not. So especially with a new person, and it doesn't matter. Here's the other thing that I hear all the time, especially when somebody has the experience. Oh, well, they have a sales background. They know how to sell. Great. They don't know how to sell for you. No. They don't know how to sell what you've got. They don't know how to sell your values and your mission. They don't know how to sell that yet. They don't quite know. So you can take any salesperson in the universe and plug them into your business. Do they have the skill? Yes. Do they have the experience? Of course. But they still have to be trained. So having the experience does not mean, oh, I don't have to train them, or, oh, I don't have to train them as much. Yeah. You still have to train them a lot. There is a lot of training. And I hate to break it to you, but your life when you hire gets worse. So your life is bad. You need to hire.
There's a dip.
Then you hire somebody. Your life is now worse for a short period of time. Mm-hmm. The reason being is everything that you were doing, you still have to do it. And in addition, you now have to train somebody.
Yeah.
So nothing has changed except that you just added another responsibility for yourself for the next 30 to 90 days. And there is no way around that with hiring. So if you hire and you fail to train, it is probably not going to work out. They will not get the results. They will be frustrated. You will be frustrated. And at some point, you will get back into the cycle of, oh, well, now I guess I have to hire again. And then you live in hell forever. And it's not a good place to be.
Yeah. So unless you hire somebody that is an amazing who, right? There's a book called Who Not How. It's a great book. Unless you hire an amazing who, like you bring in somebody, they're a sales trainer and an expert closer, and they've had tons of success and they can teach other people sales, then I think in any role, you have to assume, you need an assumption that they're going to do it wrong. You have to start with that foundational assumption that they're going to do everything wrong. If I hired an operator cold, they're doing it wrong. That I need them to install my operational system. If they are coming as a salesperson in the business, I know they've been trained poorly, because most sales training out there doesn't work anymore. There's a new model and a new way of selling, and all the old stuff that all the salesy guys that are sales trainers and sales coaches largely out there that push doesn't work anymore. It's outdated. And so, and we don't push that stuff at DoorGrow. We've had to shift how we sell, and we teach clients differently, even in the last year. And so my assumption is that they're going to do it wrong. But what I do assume is if they've done it well before, they have the ability to learn it. They have the ability to be a good operator. They have the ability to be a good BDM. But you can't assume because they have done it before that you're just going to rely on them to do it. Oh, yeah,
it's not plug and play. I hired them. Now they're just going to go do it, and they're going to sell a bunch of stuff for me. No.
Right. You're always going to be disappointed with most everybody if you come in with this assumption, and they're going to feel unsupported and untrained and frustrated.
And they will inevitably either quit or get fired.
Yeah, they'll go find a better situation.
Because no matter what, it will not work out.
Yeah.
So this
is onboarding, right?
Here's a good moment to talk about Vendaroo.
Okay. So
because we want to talk about things that do work out for just
we're going to talk. Second. Yeah. We'll talk in just a minute. We're going to talk about the onboarding and then some of the next steps that are really important, but quick word from our sponsor. All right. So if you're tired of the constant stress and hassle of maintenance coordination, meet Vendaroo, your AI-driven in-house maintenance expert that handles work orders from start to finish, triaging, troubleshooting, vendor selection, and coordination. Built by property managers for property managers to provide cost-effective and accountable maintenance operations where every dollar is accounted for and every task is handled with unmatched reliability. Vendaroo takes care of the details so you can focus on growth. Schedule a demo today at vendaroo.ai/doorgrow and experience maintenance done right. Okay, so check them out. So
speaking of doing things right, let's talk about what happens after you hire somebody.
So that next step after you hire it has to be onboarding. There needs to be a good transition of bringing somebody out from the wild, this untrained wild creature, that in getting them to be something that is going to work inside of your business and fit you and fit what you want. That's onboarding.
Mm-hmm. And if you skip onboarding, or if you don't have a very solid onboarding and training process, it's going to cause just so much friction. Because I'm sure that you can think back to a previous job that you've had back when we all had jobs, right? Have you ever just been hired and then kind of just thrown into the mix? Like
sink or swim.
It's almost like, it's almost like train yourself or figure it out, or, well, I'm going to train you a little bit and then the rest is up to you. Well, what do you mean? I trained you for a whole day. Now I'm done. Oh, okay. So that's it. That's all the support I'm going to get. All right. I guess all right. Have you ever been hired and then you don't even truly know what you're supposed to do? I don't know. I'm supposed to sell stuff.
So here's the challenge. Here's the challenge with this with entrepreneurs. I've been thrown into job situations where there was terrible onboarding, terrible training, but I'm an entrepreneur personality type. I then innovated, figured it out. And in some situations where I had a job, I then quickly was put into leadership and started managing others. But I had initiative, I had drive, like I had adaptability. And I find entrepreneurs are incredibly adaptable, and they make the mistake of assuming that everybody else is like them. Mm-hmm. And they're not. Mm-mm. They're like, well, I would just figure it out and I would just ask questions. And if I didn't know something, I would just and so you can't assume that everybody is like you. If they were like you, they wouldn't work for you. Like, how many of you would go work for somebody now? Like, you're unemployable. Like, let's be real. You would suck as an employee, probably, right? I'm unemployable at this point. I'm not going to sit around and let somebody just tell me what to do all the time and whatever, right? But they're not they're not the same as you. And if they were, then they might just, start a business and leave your business, right? So if they're willing to work for you, you need to assume that they are not the same as you and that they need to be guided. They need support. Now, that doesn't mean they can't learn or they're not adaptable. That's the skill fit. But don't make the assumption that they'll just wing it and figure it all out. Unless they're just incredibly driven and incredibly patient and they're really a strong believer in you. Some of them may do that, but that's not, you don't want to lose a good person simply because they feel like you don't care or you're not invested.
Mm-hmm. So this is there's so much time that goes into hiring. And this is why I say, don't waste the time that you've spent trying to find the right person and screening applications and interviewing. And you put a whole bunch of time and probably effort into this. And now you found the person. Don't waste that opportunity. So you need to onboard them properly. And what does that mean? Well, you need to make sure that they have access to all of the systems that they're going to need and that they know all of the systems that they're going to need. So, what are the tools that I use? And then, do I know how to access it? And do I know how to use it? Right? Don't just assume that they'll figure out, oh, well, this is how I use this phone system. Train them on it. Just show them that. So there's got to be training for those sorts of things. If they're in sales, then, well, how do I sell? How do I reach people? What am I doing? Am I just doing the fit call, figuring that out? Am I doing the full pitch? Am I closing? Am I setting them up for you and then you're going to close? What exactly am I doing? So train them on every single thing that they need to know. And I know this sounds so silly, but most people do not do this. So, what do I say? What do I do? Do I have a script? Do I just make it up? Where do I find people? Am I in the office? Am I driving around? Am I like meeting people at events? What am I supposed to be doing all day? Because I'm brand new and I know nothing. So, I'm completely reliant upon you to tell me what to do. So, if they don't know, don't assume that they're just going to go and figure it out for you. You have to show them and they have to shadow you. So for the first 90 days, this is all training. So when you hire any person, now some of them will pick it up a little bit quicker and some of them will take the full 90 days. And either way, it's all right. But just in your head, tell yourself it's going to take the full 90 days, right? So in that 90 days, with any position, but especially in sales, don't expect them to come in and then just start selling. Oh, wow, they closed a bunch of deals. That was awesome. That's so cool. So there's kind of a ramp up period in every position, but certainly in sales. So shadowing is very, very, very important here. They need to be all over you all the time. So you need to meet with them every day.
Or whoever is the person they're learning from.
Yes.
Sometimes it's not going to be you eventually. In the beginning, it's always you, right? Which leads us to like availability and access is huge in the beginning. Like if a team member doesn't have access to you or you are unavailable because you're so busy, they're going to feel stuck. They're going to feel unsupported. They're going to feel fearful in what they're doing. And so they need to have availability. This morning, I got a phone call. Like a call came in through Telegram and it was Janie who we're onboarding right now. She called me and she's like, hey, I'm supposed to do a triage call right now. I have a scheduled appointment and I'm trying to load Zoom and it's saying it's waiting for the host and I'm supposed to be the host. And I said, then just call them. Like pick up the phone, just call them. It's a quick call anyway, but it probably has to do with maybe you're not logged in or you click the link somewhere else and it doesn't realize you're logged in. It happens to me sometimes. And she said, okay, yeah, I'll just call them. But if she were in that situation, this is her first triage call and she's like totally stuck and I'm like unavailable and she's freaking out, then she's going to feel, people go through all sorts of emotions like anger, shame, guilt, fear, like, stuff like this. And so we don't want to put our team members through this emotional roller coaster of discomfort when everything's uncertain in the beginning.
Mhm.
So that's important. Once we get through, and the onboarding period, my general rule for onboarding is 90 days, like you said. Then the first 30, I'm usually meeting with them maybe for an hour a day, and I'm highly available.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day.
That's usually the goal. And then after that, I might the next month, maybe it's a shorter time period every day if I'm over like consistently training them, like a BDM especially. But otherwise, it might be that we start backing it off to maybe meeting weekly. And then depending on the role of whether or not I'm their supervisor directly or if they're kind of owning a piece of the business, I then might back it off in the last month or eventually for the future to meet with them monthly to support them or whatnot. Like you kind of gradually step it down, and it'll be obvious because you'll be getting on calls with them and like, hey, what else should we talk about? What else do you need to know? What other questions you have? Or, hey, I want to make sure you know this. And you're going to start to run out of ideas and they're going to start to not need you as much. And so then it's pretty obvious. Well, okay, then I guess we'll end this early. And that's a clue. Well, maybe we don't need to meet as often now. Why don't? And they'll let you know. Do you think we need to keep meeting all the time like this? And like, well, it is helpful, but I don't know that we need an hour, maybe 30 minutes. Okay, cool. If we could just meet 15 minutes each day so I can get unstuck on a few things, awesome. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So I meet with my assistant every day for a short amount of time, but they're directly responsible to help and support me on things. As an operator, like you run our weekly meeting and our daily huddles, right? And so there's different things, like there's sort of a cadence of structure, even regardless. So I think after we get through onboarding and you've got good access, good availability, they feel supported and they're succeeding, they need to be getting results. So I think the next step in my mind is there needs to be accountability. So if you're letting somebody just run and it's 60 days in and they are not succeeding or getting results, like, cool. How many calls has the BDM made? I don't know. Okay. How often have you met with them? Well, not often. If there's no part of meeting with them is to create accountability. Like, hey, what are you working on today? What do you feel like is next? What are you going to be doing? And to make sure that you're guiding them towards what they should be working on. So accountability means metrics if they're a BDM.
You need to know the metrics.
How many networking events have they gone to in the last week? How many phone calls and outreach have they made to potential referral partners, real estate agents? How many investors have they reached out or called? Are they on top of all of the follow-up tasks and deals that are in the CRM? Do you have a CRM, right? Like there needs to be accountability. So there's a record. Are they keeping notes? Are the calls recorded? Can you listen to their calls to help them improve? Like if there's no transparency or accountability, there's almost no likelihood that they're going to succeed. Like it's because they're not being watched. So basically you're sending the signal, it doesn't matter. You might get somebody that's an amazing self-starter.
Of go figure it out.
Right.
Well, shit, I don't know. I guess I'll just make it up. But then when they make a decision and now their decision is different than your decision, now you didn't tell them what to do. They just made something up. And now you're not happy with the results.
Yeah. And they're lacking leadership. And if they're lacking in your jobs to be the leader and they're lacking leadership, then they have no accountability and there's no transparency or visibility in what they're doing. You won't know if what they're doing is working or not working. And so they'll just keep doing what's not working because they still get paid either way. That's a bad situation for most team members. Most team members will continue to get paid whether or not they're really performing at an exceptional level or a decent level. And with a BDM, their compensation should be directly connected to getting results. So they should really want it. But if there's no accountability or transparency in the beginning, they're probably going to do a lot of stuff that isn't working. And they're going to be frustrated and they're not going to stick.
They won't know why it's not working.
Yeah.
They'll come to you and say, hey, like I'm doing what you told me to do. You told me to make all these calls. I made all these calls. It's not working.
And this is one of the ways in which DoorGrow can assist. We can assist with this, right? Like they can show up to our Wednesday coaching call if they're a BDM focusing on growth, and the BDM can come to the call and say, hey, I'm trying to do this and I'm getting this result. It's not the outcome I'm looking for. It's not working. Cool. maybe you need to change this, or how are you saying it, or what are you doing, or could you send us a call recording? So all of these things that we teach, we know work. They can work. If it's not working, then it's obvious that it must be what they're doing. They're not doing it correct. They're doing it maybe in the wrong way, or maybe they're not saying the right things, or maybe their tone is off, or maybe they are turning people off and they sound like a telemarketer, or they're creating this sales ick or this sales resistance in people by how they're approaching people. And these are easy changes. These are little things that are very easy to tweak or change. I mean, just listening to one sales call from somebody, I can give them a lot of feedback, and it's like they grow so much faster and quicker. And that's one way to add some visibility or accountability into the equation. But as a business owner, you need to know their metrics. They need to have metrics and be accountable for that, right? They need to know, what are the leading actions that I need to be taking that are going to get the business development results, right? What are the daily activities that I need to be doing in order to succeed? So that's my take.
Yeah, for sure. And I love listening to the call recordings because then sometimes when you're in the moment, and this happens to all of us, sometimes when you're in the moment, you have a certain perception of how things went. And then when you go back and you listen to it later, you'll catch something that you weren't aware of in that moment. So maybe it's something that they said, maybe it's something that you said, maybe you didn't explain something the way that they understood it, but you'll hear things that you may have missed in the moment. And especially with salespeople, this is a training opportunity. So a lot of times people go, well, what am I supposed to train them on? Like, they know how to use CRM. They know how to use the phone system. They know what to do. They got to just go do it. Okay. Well, are we honing in skills? Are we improving things? Or are we just saying, like, go do it? Go make 1,000 calls this week. Okay. Well, if I make 1,000 shitty calls,
you're just wasting energy, and you're wasting your leads or your opportunities.
So there's always this fine tuning that we have to do. And very rarely are people able to do it for themselves. Sometimes they can go back and listen to a call recording and then go, oh, you know what? I'm going to improve that. But a lot of times it's really good to have two people listening to the call recording for that reason. And then the last thing that I do want to talk about is, what does the 30, 60, 90-day period look like? So I always tell people, in their first 30 days, this is nothing but training. This is deep training. You really do need to be meeting with them every day. Not when it's convenient, not when you have time, not, oh, well, I skipped that day because this happened. Every single day. Every day. They need to have the correct resources, the correct knowledge, the right support. Their questions need to be answered. You need to be available to them. They need to have all of this because they're brand new. So a lot of times what happens is people hire somebody and it's like a little baby bird, and then they push the baby bird out of the nest, but the bird can't fly yet because you didn't even teach it what its wings are, right? So we can't do that yet. So in the first 30 days, really expect nothing. Really, they just need to be training. If they close something in their first 30 days, that's awesome. Great. I mean, they should be doing the activities.
I expect work.
Yes.
I expect action and work. If it's to make calls, I expect them in like a BDM should be making some outbound outreach and calls right away.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, how are you going to know that
if it's going to work?
They shouldn't just be like just learning stuff.
Just training.
Like, I want to get them on the phone, get them making calls.
No, but in sales, let's be really clear here. Training, this is hands-on training.
Yeah.
I can't, this is like trying to say, hey, I need to go learn how to drive a car, but I'm never actually going to get in the car. I'm going to meet with you on Zoom, or I'm going to sit with you and you're going to tell me about how to drive a car. No, honey, you got to go get in the car. So yes, you have to actually be doing it, doing the activities.
Yeah, there's no amount.
That is training.
There's no amount of manuals or videos you could read or watch that would teach you how to drive a car. You have to drive the car.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So if they close something in their first 30 days, that's awesome. That's gravy. That's a bonus. But sometimes people go, oh man, it's been 30 days and they haven't closed anything. Like, man, they must suck. They're They're new. They're learning so much. And when you implement a new thing, you're probably not going to be very good at it, especially a new strategy or a new way of doing sales, because the way that we teach our clients to sell is different.
Mm.
It's different. We're not hardcore closing everybody. We're not
Yeah.
doing that. So it's everything is different. They don't have their bearings yet. They don't even have their footing and their foundations, right? So 30 days, if they close something, that's great. But I want them to be training, and I want them to be doing some sort of, whatever it's going to be. If you have them doing events or presentations or calls or a mixture of all of them, great. Do all of
But there
that.
should be progress. You'll see progress. And that's the thing, you don't want to tolerate somebody being in the business for 60 days, 90 days, and you're not seeing progress or action, and you're trying to push them. If you're having to push somebody to do something, probably they're not the right personality fit. If you are noticed, like you feel unsafe with them doing things and it makes you uncomfortable how they're doing things, probably not a culture fit. They're not doing it according to your values. That how they go about doing it is different than you. Yeah. And if it's not, they're just not doing the right things, then that's a training issue, or they're just not intelligent enough to learn the skill. So that's a skill fit. Okay.
So then 60 days, I do want to see some progress. They might close something. They still might not. It depends. I can't say yes or no. Oh, they should definitely close. You can't say that, because everybody has their own time frame, right? And investors, sometimes they work on their own time frames. You can't control that. But I do want to see some progress. I want to feel like things are happening, and I want to feel like, hey, we've got some stuff in the pipeline. We've got some stuff that I feel like might close. If you say, hey, what do you have that's about to close? Do you feel like anybody's close? And they go, not really. Oh, yeah. Why?
Are they getting appointments? Are there relationships being built? Are there deals now kind of in the pipeline at some of the earlier stages? Like, you should start to see the sales pipeline mature and build. Yeah.
Yeah. So then 90 days, they've been doing that now. They understand everything. They know what to do. They know how to do it. They've gotten their feet wet. They've now tested things and then also made some improvements. They're like, oh, well, when I say it like this, it doesn't work, it doesn't resonate. But if I say it like this, it's better. Oh, I have to switch this and this. Right now you're making those little tweaks, those little improvements. So 90 days, they should be able to close something at this point. And same thing with the pipeline. I need to see the pipeline moving forward. I need to see more being added in the pipeline. I need to see them further along in different stages in the pipeline. Things need to start kind of really moving forward at this point. And then after the 90 days, now you get to push out of the nest, right? Now they're a baby bird, go push them. You should now have everything that you need to be able to soar, as long as we did our job. But a lot of times and I get it, it's hard because you're running a business and you're an entrepreneur and you're busy and it's crazy. And now you want me to train somebody. Yep. Yeah. Because once they are able to do it for you, now you can relax into it. But if we skip the training, what's going to happen is you're going to go, man, they're just not getting me the results. Or they might get frustrated and go, man, my boss sucks. Like, they don't train me on anything. And it's just not, it's not a good place here. I know I'm going to leave because I know that if I don't, then I'll eventually get fired. So regardless, they're going to leave. And then you're going to have to go, God, well, now I have to go hire somebody. And then you're going to hire somebody. And then you're going to be in this whole hiring cycle of hell for the rest of eternity. And that's not a fun place to be. It's not. It's really painful.
Yeah. A lot of people wait until they're in pain to hire instead of hiring strategically with a plan, or, in advance. And so once you get to the place where you need a new team member and then you hire, and now you're kind of shot in the foot, and you're going to have to like go backwards time-wise, then you're in a worse spot. Like, that's not the ideal place to be hiring. And then later you'll create more freedom eventually. But yeah, you want to make sure that you are kind of aware of your capacity and starting to get your hiring systems, get your new hires in place. in advance before you need it. And this is why it's super important to make sure you're making the right decisions in the business. So we have frameworks for how to decide what you need most in the business, and frameworks for how to decide what the business needs most. So you're making healthy financial hiring decisions, because making wrong decisions that way can really hurt cash flow, and can, especially early in the business, can really be dangerous. So, well, is there anything else you'd say to maybe some of our clients or people that they've gotten a new hire? It's probably a good hire, and they need to make sure they're doing their onboarding and taking care of this new hire correctly.
Yeah, get it on your calendar. Don't just say you're going to do it. It has to be scheduled time where it's dedicated. And also, don't half-ass it. Don't be like, oh yeah, I'm going to be on the phone with Joe while I'm like over here doing. They know that's not dedicated. That does not feel good. We've all been on the receiving end of something like that. So don't make people guess. Don't make them figure it out. It's not going to work out well.
All right. That's our episode for today. So I think that this should be pretty helpful for some of our clients that are getting into new hires. And hopefully it was helpful for a lot of you listening. If you're struggling with hiring or building your team or systems or profit, all of this relates to the people system in your business. You need people, planning, and process. And that's our super system. If you're needing some help with this, reach out to DoorGrow and we can take you to a whole nother level by helping you get these systems installed, and you'll have a business that you actually enjoy being in. So until next time, to our mutual growth. Bye, everyone.